share that if it is your desire to be a homeowner, you can be a homeowner. And it's just about it's just about the networking and connecting with folks that can take you to where you really want to be. One of the things as an investor that we are trying to do is by purchasing the property underneath the market value and then rehabbing it, we try to position the property so that when we sell it to the end buyer on a lease option, that there's enough equity to make it attractive to the lender. And the more equity there is in the home, the more attractive it looks to the lender, the less scrutiny they give to the individual buyer, because they know that their money is tied up in the real estate, which has significant amount of equity. So that's kind of, some of the things that we try to use. We had a property, a tax lien property. We obtained the property for about $25,000. So putting $100,000 into the property, estimated $125,000. The market says we can sell that property for $280,000, almost $300,000. Well, if we get $200,000, we have made a significant profit as investors.
Sure. So
where a lot of investors would have gone or taken that property to the high end of the market and sold it at the top comps, we, because of our desire to make homeowners, we would typically position that house somewhere in the middle where there's enough equity for the lender to be attractive, and it allows you to qualify coming in with with a different type of income. And then again, as investors, those are things that we can do when we search out and go after properties. So that's, again, if I can put a $300,000 house on the market for $220,000, that's significant.
Sure.
That's significant to the lender, and that's significant to the buyer. And again, we have made a profit, so we're in business obviously to make a profit, but we don't have to make all of the profit, and that's that's what's different about us at GPS Solution.
Sure. Now, you all have really covered some great things in terms of buying homes rather, if you are recovering from some type of financial situation. So as we move on from home ownership, what are some of the other types of wealth building activities that you and Wyvetra recommend for families and for individuals?
So I want to have you and your viewers and your listeners repeat this like we did last week. You cannot save yourself to wealth. Say it with me. You cannot save yourself to wealth. And that's, and now don't misunderstand me. It is going to take savings to get started.
Sure.
But if that's all you're doing is saving, then you will always be behind the eight ball.
Okay.
And so even when we talk about real estate, let's go back to the example that I just gave in reference to your house that has equity. All right. You purchase the house that has equity in it. Most people pretty much just sit on the house until they pay it off. And by the way, we have partners that will show you how to pay off your house in 5 years without doubling up on the mortgage. And it's all about the strategy of manipulating the interest rate but in a good way, in a legal way. I hate to say
Sure.
manipulating like it's something under the table, but it's just using the savings accounts and so forth and so on. So there's strategies that will allow you to pay more on your principal than on your interest if you have a certain account set up. So to go back to the point that I was trying to make, when you have a house that has equity in it,
mm-hmm.
most people just sit on the house and they pass that on to the heirs, or they obtain it when they sell it. What I am trying to push is that you utilize that equity and use that as an investment into some other form of wealth building, whether it's purchasing a rental property, purchasing a property for Airbnb, purchasing stocks on the market, going into the money market fund, doing something with that equity. If you don't have your savings, doing something with that equity that will help build wealth. Don't take the money out and buy a Lamborghini or buy a Porsche or buy a new motorcycle or buy a boat. All of those things they're assets to the bank, but they're not assets to your life.
Right.
They're liabilities because they take away. What you want to do is you want to use that money where you can build on that wealth and then use that money to pay for stuff in full.
Sure.
All right. So one of the things that we talked about last week is, how do we start now?
Right.
Where do we begin now?
Right.
And that is up to the individual. But as I said last week, and I'll say it again this week, the best time to start is today. The journey to 1,000 miles starts with the first step. And so if you don't have savings, if you don't have an extra cushion of savings that you can invest, and I want to say invest because when you invest, you want to make sure that it's a mindset that this is money that if you lose it, it will not be catastrophic to you or your household.
Sure.
Don't take your lunch money. Don't take the mortgage payment. Don't take the bills you say I got to pass on.
Right.
Don't take that money and invest.
Right.
Because if you lose it, then it just puts you further behind.
Sure.
So when you look at investment, it's money that you can afford to lose, but you prefer not to. And that's the money that you take and that you go and you find the avenue that you are most comfortable with, whether that is the real estate or whether that is the stock market, or even if it's just an online savings account. I mean, I looked at a website on the different online savings accounts. Now, if you go into your regular bank, in your regular savings account, you'll probably get 0.01% interest on your savings. If you go online, you can get up to 0.70% on your interest for your savings.
Mm-hmm.
It is liquid. A lot of times there is a requirement minimum deposit, but again, that's building wealth. You're getting more interest on your money than a traditional institution.
Sure.
Having that mindset is really, again, where it starts. How can I make my money work for me?
Sure.
What strategies can I do that will help build wealth for myself? One of the other things, and I'll give you a chance to come in, Mike, because I'll talk. I'm a preacher. But one of the other things that I'm doing is I am taking money from my savings and I'm paying off my credit cards because my credit cards have a higher interest rate. And I am paying myself back just as if I were paying the credit card company. But instead of paying a 13% or 12% interest rate on the credit card, I'm paying myself a 4 to 8% interest rate. And it's a lower interest rate. I have a relationship with the owner of that account, so if I need to ask for forbearance, they're very, very friendly to me.
Sure.
And if not, I roll over and I'll smack him and look in the mirror and say, that was wrong. But by borrowing from myself, again, I'm still using the credit card for the initial purchase because that helps my credit rating. But I'm paying the credit card off at the end of the month and with my savings and then paying my savings back.
Sure.
Take discipline because you don't want to go upside down and keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and then you don't have any savings. So it takes discipline, but it's a strategy to put more money into your account.
Okay. So when we're talking about borrowing against your equity, and I know some people are a little leery about that. Now, for example, let's just say we'll say you have a house that's paid off. And so what you're recommending is that people consider taking some of the equity in that property and investing in other things, correct? So it's a two-part question.
Yes.
So now when they do that, I'm assuming that whatever investment you make, it's also designed that you're going to get to a price point that it pays that loan back, correct?
100%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and that really is where you need to do your research, where you really need to consult, professionals, because again, the bank's terminology of assets and liability is different than real life.
Sure.
So an the asset that you want to look for as an investor is an asset that will give you a return that will give you a profit.
Okay.
Now, if you borrow money from the equity out of your house, and your investment only pays you enough to pay the equity back, then that's not the type of investment we're talking about.
Right.
All right. We're talking about an investment that will pay above, and even if it's above the monthly note. So if you do a refi and you pull out a certain amount of dollars, and say the payment on that is $600. Well, you take that investment and buy Airbnb, where you can get $9,000 a month if the Airbnb is situated in the right place. So that's where we're talking about. You're getting more back than you would put out in paying back your equity loan.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
So yes. So it's very important that again, that you buy something that's going to give you a return above and beyond.
Sure.
Whether it's above and beyond totally, like if you borrowed $100,000 and the investment brings you back $200,000.
Sure.
Or if you borrowed $100,000, you're paying $250 a month or $600 a month, and you're bringing in $1,000 a month.
Gotcha.
As long as the math works in your favor.
Okay.
So that and that's thanks for that, Chief, because that's very important, and that's what is squeamish to a lot of people when they go and they borrow, because they're like, well, I'm this is a loan, and I'm responsible for that loan if the things don't go. Yes, absolutely. That's why I say make sure that it's not catastrophic if the investment does not pan out.
Sure.
But if you strategize, there is no sure way. But if you strategize it, you minimize the risk. And that is what is important, that you minimize the risk. I'm not telling you to take the money and go down to your local casino, and say, all right, well, or you go to the
Daddy needs a six. Store. Daddy needs a six.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, snake eyes come out. Now you're on the corner with a bucket.
That's right.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about proven strategy.
Sure.
That the wealth use, from Warren Buffett to Donald Trump to you and me, that there's nothing that they do that we cannot do. They just do it at a higher level.
Gotcha.
And so that's again the mindset that I want to to introduce to you all. So when you talk about where to start, it depends on where your dollars are. How much do you have for savings? If you don't have the savings, how much do you have in equity? If you don't have the equity, then you need to start building that foundation. All right, and then you take that, and then you go and you find that investment.
Sure.
A lot of people are squeamish about the stock markets. It's funny because back in March, the stock market crashed significantly. A lot of people lost a lot of money in their 401ks. But the wealth savvy investors were treating it like it was Black Friday because stocks were on sale.
They were on sale.
That's right.
And I will tell you that I picked up Nike shares for $61 a share. Nike today closed at $131. So, the market's going to go up and the market's going to go down. The key is understanding the strategy, getting with people that know the market so that you buy on the low and not on the high.
That's right.
And then that's a different strategy. Do you buy long term, or is this something that you're just going to get into the market, make some quick bucks, and then get out of the market?
That's right.
It's a whole different. If this is money if this is a stock that you're going to pass down to your generations, you don't care what the market does because it rebounds and it has a history of rebounding every time it crashes.
Right.
But if you're going to use this money to buy that boat or to fund that trip to the Bahamas, well, maybe not the Bahamas now, but when the weather clears up and the hurricanes stop, then you pick stocks that short-term stocks that you don't plan on holding, long-term. I think I saw early on where Tesla, I think, was somewhere down to $100. Not $100, down to like $60 or $40 back in March. Tesla just closed at $486. So imagine if you had 100 shares of Tesla.
That's right.
that you picked up for $40 back in March when the market crashed.
Yeah.
And